Future Farm Industries CRC was born out of the notion that perennial plant-based farming systems adopted widely across the whole farm could transform agriculture in the dryland agricultural zones of Australia. That notion is that it's in the nature of perennial plants that they can more effectively use the water in the landscape and deliver greater profit to farmers, but also important environmental benefits. The earlier CRC salinity, which had run for 7 years, had really looked at all the options that you could deliver salinity management, but still faced this question of how to get options across the whole farm that with sufficient economic driver to adopt them. And that was really the challenge that was handed on from one CRC to the next.
This CRC built its research around the concept of profitable perennials. That is, the right plant in the right place for the right purpose under the right management. It looked at developing farming systems based on perennials, but also developing new technology, new perennial technologies that would support and complement those farming systems. The
perennial plants were targeted because they far better exploit the variable rainfall in southern Australia, particularly out-of-season rainfall. Their ability to take that rain and convert it into additional growth when annual pastures and annual crops are no longer active can be quite important to the long-term productivity of farms. So here we are in November in the wet belt of Western Australia. There's a possibility of thunderstorms today, and if that was to result in a rainfall event on this farm, then the perennials would be there ready to make use of that, whereas the annual crops can't.
The 5 farming systems that we have are all built around perennials. The first, our most mature, is one called Evergraze that looks at introducing perennials into a livestock and particularly high rainfall zones. The second is Evercrop, which looks at mixed farming systems of livestock and cropping and the use of perennials in uniform low and medium rainfall zones. Enrich is the use of forage shrubs on more marginal land and making that less productive land more productive.
We have a farming component called Biodiversity and Water, which looks at mitigating salinity with the use of perennials, making that land more productive while improving the environment.
And we also have a program called Woody Crops, which is integrating trees into a farming system to make farmers more resilient against climate change and providing a second income.
In addition to our research project team's investments, we've had our PhD program. We expect 55 students, at least 55 students will graduate with PhDs by the end of the CRC. This is a major contribution we've made to ensuring that we've got another generation of leading agricultural, economic, social, environmental scientists to support Australian agriculture.
We are in a situation where we are faced with continuing declining terms of trade. We are faced with new competitors in the world food and fibre market. And we also have to, importantly, adapt to a changing climate. So we have all of those factors pressing in on us, and we do have to make sure that our agriculture is sustainable and that it remains profitable in this changing environment.
Another strength of this CRC, in my opinion, is that what it does prove is that if you have a really good research program built on a strong business case and you bring together these outstanding Australian scientists who are committed and passionate about the work that they do, is that it does deliver impact on the ground in Australian agriculture.
In 2006, when the Salinity CRC decided to do a rebid and create a case for the Future Farm Industries CRC, an important component of that case was to do a benefit cost analysis of several key initiatives and emerging technologies. So every single project team had to develop an industry use plan, and that plan clearly defined what outputs were going to be achieved from that investment, clearly defined how industry owned those objectives of what we wanted to achieve, and clearly defined the sorts of activities that were going to be carried out by that team in delivering on that project during the life of the CRC, which includes skills development, training, all of those sorts of things that allowed that project to continue well beyond the life of the CRC to 2030. This is not just about good science, it's not just about good researchers, it's not just about having fantastic researchers doing fantastic research work. It's about tailoring a program so that everything we do, every step of the way, focuses on that land use change, focuses on the needs of farmers, focuses on research questions which are validated and well considered and well accepted by industry.
Perennial-based farming systems are now being seriously talked about by thousands of farmers. who have joined with Future Farm Industries CRC. And the reason for that is that the documented profit benefits and the environmental benefits are now appealing to the mainstream industries that dominate southern agriculture, and that's the meat industry, the wool industry and the grains industry.
I think the highlight for me probably has been to see how effective the collaboration has been. I'm a great believer in collaboration to achieve the maximum for the dollars we invest in innovation, and it's worked very well at a number of levels. It's worked well from the point of view of the researchers. It's brought researchers from different institutions together. It's brought investors, particularly the research and development corporations, together in a common interest, and ultimately it's brought results to a diverse array of farmers and farm interests.